Thank you so much. I'm really excited to chat with you all today. And to Jamie's point, I really hope this is interactive because I know people can't really pay attention for more than like max 20 minutes on Zoom because I can't. So I will introduce myself and then I'm going to ask you to put in the chat what you might want to hear about today, because you guys have all taken this time out of your day, out of your evenings to chat with me. And so I want to make sure that I cover information that's relevant if there's anything you're looking to hit hard on. So without further ado, let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, it looks like it's working. Okay, so my name is Liz Miller. I live in the Boston area, but I am originally from Southern California. I broke into tech sales about 5 years ago. Yep, that's right, in 2018, early 2018. And I started as a BDR and I worked my way up through the channels. I'm starting a new job March 22nd, and I'll be an enterprise account executive. So I'm really excited about that. Over the past 5 years, I've had a few different roles in a few different companies. And I feel like I've learned a lot, and something that I've always taken with me through all these experiences is the need to prospect, even when you come to this like enterprise AE level. And I like to read a lot of sales books, podcasts, etc. So one of the first books I ever read was Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount. I remember one thing from that book, seriously, just one. And the only thing I remember is the 90-day rule. And the 90-day rule says if you are not at your number, presumably end of quarter, end of month, you need to think about what you were doing 90 days prior. And if you weren't prospecting then you're not closing deals now. So I always just like to think about that. Times when I have missed quota, I mean, so few and far between, obviously, but times when I do reflect back and realize I was not putting in the activity I needed to hit my numbers. So I really think prospecting is important. How I met Elevate is through my TikTok. So in summer of 2020, I honestly made a TikTok just venting into the black hole of the internet about some tech sales, struggles. And since then, I guess, since summer of 2021, when I made that first video, I've gotten quite a bit of engagement on TikTok. I have about, I think, 11,000 followers today. And that is how Norm and Jamie found me to give this presentation. So shameless plug, feel free to follow me, Tech Sales Gal. I also have a website, techsalesgal.com. It looks like we had a question come in, and then as promised, I would love for a few people to put in the chat what they're looking to get out of today, or what's a topic they want to make sure I hit hard on. While you guys maybe like type in a suggestion, we have a question: why should an AE prospect? I thought your SDR BDR is supposed to do that. Your SDR and BDR is supposed to do that, but you can never have as much pipeline. And if there ever comes to be a time in your career where you are not hitting your quota, the first question you will be asked is, well, why didn't you have pipeline? And you can't just say, oh, my SDR didn't do it. It does fall on you to ultimately make sure that you are hitting your targets. And honestly, like, you have to be accountable for your own book of business and sales, right? Okay, question: what mix of cold calling versus email video outreach do you do? I will get to that question. Usually in prospecting, good owner. Okay. Okay. Okay, these are all really good questions.
Yeah, you asked them. They're coming at you now.
Oh, I'm super excited. I'm just like taking them all in. Okay, I think I'll answer most of them in my next few slides, but if I don't, like feel free to let me know. So I'm gonna go ahead, next slide. Okay. Okay, so highest level agenda. What we're going to cover today is why you video prospect, who you should prospect into, what should be the content of your videos, and how to actually do that, like tactically, like with the tools. Okay, so that's very high level agenda. Okay, so I think like this question is like, why should we do this at all, right? Like it definitely takes time. It's definitely unnerving to like send a video of yourself to someone. Like, why should we do this? And honestly, in 2023, like automated sales emails, I feel are pretty much dead, right? Like everyone is using a sequence strategy. Everyone is automating their email outreach. And it doesn't mean don't do it, but like that's one tool in your tool belt, and doing that alone is just frankly not enough to have the success you need. I have a friend who's a CTO of a startup here in Boston. He told me he gets 70 emails a day from sales reps. So 350 a week. Is your email going to stand out? I'm not sure. So also there's data on this. I always like to back up things with data. I know there's a HubSpot study on this. Prospecting with video is booked 4 times per meetings. And then I can also say I have personal wins in this arena. I'm actually going to show you 2 examples of videos that I have that were very fruitful, like in this presentation. And it just works, and it's worked for me, and it's worked at multiple different companies in multiple different roles. So I don't think that there's like one vertical, or if you're an AE or you're an SDR or whatever, that like you should think this isn't potentially a good strategy to add to your motion. Okay, so this question I think goes down to like some of the boundaries questions, like how, oh, wow, okay. Some of the boundaries questions, how do you use your time management questions. So I will say this, like not everyone, 1, is worthy of a video, and 2, not everyone is a good candidate for a video. So like I don't think anyone should walk away from this discussion today thinking like I now make a video for every single person I'm sequencing, emailing, etc. And there was another question here about cold outreach, how to use it in cold outreach. I really think videos should be used in warm outreach. And what I mean by that is it shouldn't be your first touch. And here's why. You're going to waste too much time. What if you make that like awesome video and then it's like the wrong email, or that person left the company? So when you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to make a couple videos today, you want it to be a high value target. So usually that means like an executive, or at least someone who could be a decision maker, or introduce you like one click below a decision maker for your product. And you want to make sure their email is good, right? And you want to make sure they're a real person and that they work at that company. So I'm a big fan, and this is for prospecting in general, sending out like a very like low touch, like no pressure CTA email to like a lot of people, and you can automate that too, like even mail merge, and then start to hone in on the people who are actually opening your emails. especially if they're if they're opening it more than once. To me, that's a real open, right? So it's like you have this big list of people, you're in charge of doing a lot of prospecting, you're sending them emails. Start to think about which people that you're reaching out to are opening your emails, and 2 are this high value target. And the other thing I want to say is maybe a CTO has opened your email 17 times, but you go on LinkedIn, there's not one thing about him or her. They're not using Twitter. They don't have a big digital footprint. It's okay to not make a video for that person, because what I want to talk about today is personalization and relevance, and why those things are different, but both needed in video prospecting. So if you can't make the video personalized, it's not really worth the effort to make it. So I feel like that's just a takeaway as well. I'm going to stop for questions really quick. Is there anything that's come up or that is pertinent to who to send these videos to? Oh, okay. When I try and scroll in the chat, it like scrolls through my slides. Okay.
Oh.
There we go. I got it.
Okay.
Cold calling versus email video outreach. I can take that one. I probably shouldn't say this. I don't like cold calling.
I warned them. I already warned them that that's your preference. So you're good.
I don't like it. And
you have to speak honestly, because you've gone from BDR to AE, and speak honestly and what works for you.
Yeah. So I just haven't really, especially since COVID, had much luck cold calling, but I have had continued success making videos. I mean, I don't think I need to go into why I don't like cold calling, right? Not many people like it. But the reason why I don't like it is I feel like it can often almost sour a relationship if you are bothering someone at the wrong time, or that person gets 100 cold calls a day and they've had it up to here. I just feel like the video is basically like leaving a voicemail, but so much better. It's like leaving an extremely strong voicemail. And because they're more rare to receive, I think they have a much better chance of being open than just looking at the text on your cell phone of a voicemail and deleting it once you realize it's a salesperson.
Okay, so the CTO that you reference that you can't personalize, then you're just going to say hop on the phone, if they're opening your email 17 times, you can't personalize it because they have no digital footprint. Would that be the exception? You're just going to say hop on the phone and talk to them, be done with it. And
Yep, definitely. Anyone who's opening your emails, you should call, but I really feel like it's a warm call at that point. So for me, I think it's a warm call if you've sent the video already and you're calling to be like, hey, did you see that video? I made it for you. Or you're like, hey, saw you've been interacting a bit with us. To me, that's warm. For me, when it's cold, it's this person I just found on LinkedIn. I've never sent them an email. They've never interacted with us. They've never downloaded marketing content. I'm going to call them up. For me, I haven't had success doing that. So I do want to differentiate that. If there has been interaction, I do feel like it's a warm call, not a cold call. Okay, shake video. Okay, let me just go through. Okay. Have you noticed a clear difference in age and industry of prospect when it comes to successful cold calling? No, I think people just don't like it, period. When it comes to getting the nerves to record a video, send it. Any suggestions to help shake the nerves? This is a good one, and I'll speak candidly about this. one of the things you're going to have to do successfully if you want to make a lot of money in sales is figure out how to feel confident when you're not confident, when your mental health is bad, when you're sick, when you're exhausted, when you've got off a red eye. You have to learn how to fake it, and that's my most genuine advice. I will tell you right now, I have figured out some things that work for me, and you're gonna laugh, but before this webinar started, listened to Amelie by Lil Wayne. It's pumped me up for a decade, and I'm gonna stick with what works. If I listen to that song, Cardi B, Money, Cardi B is also awesome, but you're gonna need to figure out what works for you to have any success in this role, because the crappy thing about sales is there's not really a situation. Obviously, take your PTO, sign off, recharge, whatever, but if you're working that day and you have a call, you can't reschedule it because you don't feel well, or you feel mentally ill. So you're gonna have to just find something that fires you up. I don't know what that is for you, but I would experiment with what that is for you. So yeah, and also I think I'm gonna get into this in a slide or two, but if you take away one thing from today's discussion, it doesn't, the most important part of video prospecting is making the video. It's not about how you look. It's not necessarily about how confident you are, but it's about disrupting the pattern they see in their inbox and getting them to interact with you. So even if you're not that confident, start shipping them. You might get someone who's interested, or at least respects your game enough that you made them a video. Okay, we already did this one. Okay, so what to say in the video, I'm sure is top of mind, right? How do we make this quick? How do we make it pithy? How do we make it personalized and relevant? I think I'm going to take a minute here to talk about the difference between personalized and relevant. So if you're so I live in Boston, have worked many East Coast territories. If I open with hey, saw you into Northeastern, go Huskies, and then just copy and paste a generic body of an email, that's personalized but not necessarily relevant, right? I've kind of found out some stuff about them, but really does going to Northeastern 20 years ago influence their decision day to buy software? Probably not. So I don't really buy into that strategy of sending them a mug of where they went to college. It's been done, right? So what's really more important is to be relevant, and I will show you 2 examples after this, on the next, as my next thing. But this goes back to having a digital footprint. So if you can't answer why now, why I'm specifically reaching out to you and why I'm doing it now, then that person is not a good candidate for a video. So basic video structure, intro, keep this 20 seconds or less. Make this a soft intro. Some of the lines I've used are a little cheesy, but it's hey, I'm Liz. I'm from this company. I'm your point of contact. I'm here to see if we can help you within 2 months, 2 quarters, or 2 years, right? Would love to make connections in this industry. You seem like someone I might be, able to work with because of the why now. So it's not hey, I'm making this video because I want a meeting. It's hey, I'm introducing myself. I even will be hey, I know you get a ton of noise in your inbox. I'm trying something different. I mean hundreds of videos, but they don't know that. Trying something different with my prospecting, would love your feedback. The reason I'm reaching out is this. It can be very, very casual, and it should be casual. And then your pitch, that's going to be whatever company you're working for. CTOs tend to be struggling with these 3 things. My product, alleviate some of these pain points by XYZ, etc. And then the call to action And I like to keep the call to action pretty soft. So something I've done is attach like a link to like a product tour or like a short video or like a short piece of content that's very product focused. And the call to action is, hey, like I'm gonna send you this link with this video. Are you open to connecting, giving some feedback on it? Are you open to sharing your thoughts about like what you heard in this video and what this like piece of content like was designed to do? Okay, any questions right now before I show you 2 examples?
What about, you kind of referenced really quickly social proof piece. Do you think that, like, you know, I've helped whatever Uber and Airbnb do the same thing or whatever that looks like. Do you feel like that's got to be in there because you're dealing with higher value targets? Like, is that something that's important?
I would say it doesn't hurt. Like it is helpful to reference other customers, but if I'm reaching out to Lyft, I don't need to bring up that we've worked with Burger King. Like for me, it's like if you work with Lyft, let's talk about another transportation company, even if it's like a public bus system, like something more relevant than like, hey, I worked with like Burger King and then I also worked with American Airlines. Like if it's not relevant, don't include it. But if you do have like, hey, I'm working with your competitors, you create that kind of like fear, uncertainty, and doubt that they're not doing what they should be doing if their competitors are already working with you. So I'm like, if it's relevant, absolutely. If it's not relevant, if you haven't worked with any customers that look like them, like don't tell Airbnb that you just partnered with McDonald's. Like they don't care. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Different strategy when sending videos through different channels, LinkedIn versus email, tech, tool stack. Okay, I will answer these right now because they're coming up. I think I put this on a slide. I think it's next. Okay, I'll just go to this slide and then I'll go to best practices and maybe then I'll show you the examples. I feel like that would be a better flow. So I have to pull up a new link to show you the examples. So I 95% plus of the time only use LinkedIn. So again, this does kind of narrow your focus into who you can send a video to, but you're gonna have the most success, in my opinion, if you just drop a video in their LinkedIn DM. There's so many tools out there for videos, Vidyard, Drift. Like I've used a bunch of them, and I just feel that there's something almost a little like phishing moment. Like, hey, I made you this video link. Like people don't want to click into another window. And I think because a lot of people aren't used to getting videos, it seems a little sus to them. I love making a video later in the sales process. We've had a discovery call. I want to recap before the demo. I want to give them a teaser of a demo. I want to help them prepare for a decision with their higher up and give them some notes. I like do use Vidyard. I have a Vidyard account. I don't think it's that useful for video prospecting, and I really feel like it's useful for later in the cycle.
So are you just
Because also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Are you just making a video on your phone, or what are you? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought you were going to say. Okay.
Yeah. So I have an iPhone. Yay. So I literally just like make a video on my iPhone and then I open LinkedIn on my phone in the app and then I just attach the video into the DM. So actually, let me show you. Let me just show you one of my videos. Maybe this would be like useful at this point. Okay. Is it moving? Okay. Is it still sharing this? It should show my LinkedIn. Okay. Okay, so this is a video that I feel like is very down the straight and narrow. This ended up leading to, I'm trying to think, I think this was the biggest deal I sold in 2022. Like closed, signed, sealed, delivered from this video. And I'll show it to you in a second, but when we talk about why we do this, it's also because you start to like build a real authentic connection with this person from the first interaction. And I'll just be honest with you guys. I have nothing to hide. If you go on my LinkedIn, you'll see it. Like I was recently impacted by like the big tech layoffs, whatever you want to call it. Getting a new job, like everything's good. But when I posted that, hey, I'm laid off, I'm looking, he was one of the first people to reach out to me. And this is someone I'd sold to. This isn't like someone I used to work with, saying, hey, I know a few VPs of sales at these companies. Like I can tell them that you're very talented at your job because you got me. Right? So like that's the impact of doing this type of thing. It pays dividends even past when the deal is closed. So without further ado, I'm going to play this video.
Make sure that you share your tab and share audio. So you might have to stop sharing and go to share tab.
Okay, should I go?
Otherwise, we won't be able to hear it.
Okay. So should I go stop presenting?
Yeah, stop presenting, and then it gives you an option to share tab. You'll pick this tab, and it says in the lower, I think, left corner, share audio.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. A tab, best for video and automation. Look at me go. Okay. Giving it a whirl. Hey, Barrage, thanks so much for accepting my LinkedIn connection request. Just trying to put a face to the name. I've sent you a few emails and just want to properly introduce myself. So, hi, I'm Liz. I'll be your point of contact at Jellyfish if we can ever help you guys out over at Flybits. Honestly, your LinkedIn kind of makes you seem like the perfect fit for what we do. I know you're focused on innovation, delivery excellence, and doing things in a cost-effective way. What we actually do at Jellyfish is look at your engineering resources and see how they're allocated dollar to cents to different projects. We also can get really nitty-gritty metrics, DevOps metrics that should help with delivery effectiveness and innovation. We definitely help with that. If you're spending too much time on unplanned or maintenance work, you're definitely not able to pump out features on the roadmap, and we'll help you identify some of those challenges by analyzing your data. Would love to connect. I'll shoot you the product chart again here. You want to check us out. Let me know what you think. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Okay, I'm definitely curious about this comment. Pink Floydish and experience.
Just with
say more.
Just with the echo.
Oh, it echoed.
Yeah, that's all.
I think because I think just because of the way it was playing
awesome.
or whatever.
Okay, yeah. Because I was like, was it a little like trippy or something? Because I was like, that was not the end.
Just echo. Just the echo.
Okay, then I'm probably not going to share the other one because if it's like an awkward experience, then like let's not. But this one I want to call out a few things.
Share, then mute your mic and then we will hear it perfectly.
Yeah, I think if you,
Okay,
that was the issue.
Thank you for bearing with me.
No, it's good and really good. Like, just, she used terminology, you guys, too, that was like relevant to the person she's sending it just, all of it was just so relevant. It's really, really good, Liz.
Thank you so much. Okay, I will play this one and I'll mute my mic in just a second. I want to give a little like lead up here. I had already made this woman a video. She didn't respond. I sent her a GIF. like sent her a webinar, invited her to a Red Sox game, and wasn't responding to me. But this was one of those people. This is when I was a enterprise accounts BDR. My rep was like, you have to get this woman. Like, you have to. And I was like, okay. So I was like chasing her for months. So I want to say, like, even if you've made someone one video, if time has passed, make them another video. Like, maybe something has changed. Like, maybe they put out a piece of content that you're like, this is so relevant, I'm going to make another video. Like, it's totally fine to make another one. Think of it as like leaving another voicemail. Like, you definitely wouldn't be embarrassed to do that. Okay, so this one's like one of my craziest ones, but I think it's important to show how creative you can be. So I'm going to mute myself and then play it. I am like struggling. I'm struggling to like get low enough on the screen. This is so embarrassing. I swear I work in tech.
Oh no, we all go through this.
Can you?
This is me every day.
I'm like hunched in the corner over here. Like, where? Like. Oh, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Okay. Here I go. Muting. Hey Eileen, how's it going? My name is Liz and I am making you this video from Pluralsight. I saw that you were at Harry Potter World with your family last week, and a huge Harry Potter fan over here, lifelong Gryffindor. And while learning with Pluralsight isn't quite as exciting as learning at Hogwarts, I know we can still help you with some of the challenges you're facing at CVS today, and in fact support you with rolling out your tech university for CVS in 2022. Your LinkedIn clearly says that your strengths are aligning learning and development strategies to business objectives and growth goals, which is actually very similar to what I've heard from most leaders at CVS. In particular, it really reminds me of a conversation I had with Ted Fleming. I heard him speak at Degreed Lens Light, and afterwards we got a great follow-up call where we talked about the strategy that CVS wants to take in upskilling their technologists and their entire organization. From what I can tell, the priority at CVS is to teach skills with an outcome-based mindset, right? We're not just testing competency for the sake of it. Beyond this, I talk to L&D leaders at the Fortune 500 day in and day out. That's my entire job. And I hear three main challenges again and again. One is that learning as it stands today often is without a clear ROI. There's not data, there's not metrics to support the work that amazing people like you are doing. Two, there's a gap between talent and tech. The talent side is trying to provide the right people for projects, but there's often a disconnect. And three, there's a lack of standardization in how people get promoted and what skills are needed for that, as well as how they adopt new technologies. If any of this sounds good, let me know. I'd love to talk.
That was phenomenal. And now we muted you. Yeah, somebody told me about that. We need those. You're in meetings now. We need a mug that says you're muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Nice.
Perfect. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to say those are two examples of how to actually do it. I've done it. That video that I sent to that woman at CVS ended up being $2.7 million in pipeline, which made me at like roughly 1,000% of my number for the month that I sent it. So it really can it really does work, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then the last slide I have for you is just some best practices. Here we go. Okay, so this goes back to an earlier question. How do I like become confident? You fake it, Google some tricks, do power woman pose, do 30 seconds of smiling like a crazy person into a mirror. Like, do the tricks, find the song, and fake it, because that's what we're all doing here. Okay, I also feel like when I've given presentations like this before, it's like, oh, what if, like, what do I have to look like? Or like, what should I look like? And I just want to say, if someone is meeting with you because of what you look like, let's not meet with them. It's not worth it, right? They're a weirdo. That's a red flag. So anyone comments on your appearance, we're not going to meet with them anyway. So let's not worry about that in the video, in my opinion. Other things, like, it's going to be, when you're doing your first few ones, like, the gut instinct is going to be to write a page-long, single-spaced document of everything you want to say to this person. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Like, write down a few bullets of what actually matters. I would cap it at 3 bullets. This is why. This is what I saw about you that's interesting. Here's how we solve it. Maybe even 2 bullets. It can be so short, but definitely if you read off a script, it defeats that genuine connection you're trying to build with the video. And then this is also going to be your gut instinct, is you're going to want to rewatch it, and then you're going to watch it and you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. You're going to hate it, because who likes themselves on video, like in camera? Like, no, so awkward. I will tell you, I never rewatch my videos. There's definitely videos that I start, in mid-sentence I'll be like, blah, 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 and then I'm like, okay, obviously that's not the one I'm sending. So I'm going to stop there, messed up, and then I'll start over. But if I've made it through the video and mentally I hit my 3 bullets, I'm not going to rewatch it. Because you'll never make one that's perfect enough to send. We're all like our worst critics, right? So I don't rewatch them. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I refuse to, because talk about a time suck. You're going to spend 2 hours trying to get 90 seconds out to someone and end the day with horrible self-esteem, right? So we don't want to do that. Don't rewatch them. And then the last thing is, like, trust the process. I feel like with video prospecting, a lot of people are like, well, I heard there's like a 25% response rate on videos, or like whatever the statistic is. I sent out 4, no one got back to me. Okay, like, would you ever take that same approach with sending emails or doing another method of outreach? Like, absolutely not. I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's like my video, or like, it doesn't work for me. Like, make a bunch. Like, see what works. Like, get comfortable in your pitch. Like, don't give up if the results aren't like instantaneous, because I'll tell you straight up right now, some of the first videos I made were duds. Like, so bad, and they're probably gonna be bad because it's a new skill. And so don't be hard on yourself. Like, things that you think about all the time in sales, like, it's a numbers game, it's volume, blah, 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 blah. Like, that includes video too. And so I guess I do want to end this presentation with saying, there's no silver bullet. There's no right way to do sales. There's nothing I can teach you concretely that if you do this, you will get 100 billion meetings. But, like, trust your process, learn from your mistakes. Don't rewatch the duds. We don't need that energy in our life, and just keep producing more, and you'll get to be really good. And then honestly, like, in due time, you'll know what you're looking for. You'll know your structure of the video. You'll know your cadence, all the things. A video should really never take, once you've made a couple and are in your rhythm, more than 10 total minutes, research included. Okay. One, I saw in both examples, you didn't just post the video, but you actually wrote something that went with the videos. What goes in that message to pair well with the video CTN reinforcement? That's a really good question. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now because I don't have other stuff to share. So for that one with Eileen, the Harry Potter one, I was like, hey, like, saw you were at Harry Potter World per your OOO email, like, had some fun making this video, would love to know what you think. Like, I think I also name dropped that we had talked to like another executive at CVS, like the guy I mentioned, Ted Fleming, had a talk with Ted Fleming, wondering if you're like in the same circle. So that was like more of a stronger call to action, but I had a very specific game plan. For like other ones, I honestly just drop the content, and I'll be like, hey, hey, so-and-so, made a quick video to introduce myself. I like to throw in parentheses or like a dash. It's under 2 minutes, I promise. And then that goes with the video. And then you can also say, as mentioned in the video, here's the product tour, here's the piece of content. Would love your feedback. I like to ask for feedback. I think it's so much more of a gentle ask than being like, I need your time, I deserve your time. Can you offer some feedback? And sometimes people literally just give feedback and they're like, hey, yeah, like I watched the video, I liked the product, here's why, and here's why I'm not going to buy it. But at least now you got some feedback. Like, we love a yes, the next thing we love is a no. So I think beyond anything, something that's I've just learned from video prospecting is you're going to get more responses, period. That doesn't mean they're all yeses, but you're going to save time in the long run getting a no and getting a thoughtful no. Because the people who respond, like, do think it's cool, and they do want to be helpful, and they do feel more connected to you. Okay, so anything else coming up? I think that's definitely the end of my formal presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there haters?
Oh, like people who are like rude?
Yeah.
I've never had anyone say something terrible. Actually, okay, I would say I've made hundreds of videos, like hundreds. Only one time did this guy say something snarky, like, you know, we're business people, like you salespeople think this is just like this site like serves a different purpose than it does. And I was just like, I like genuinely apologized, but I think he would have said that to any kind of LinkedIn outreach, and he was just like a miserable curmudgeon. Like most of the time, it's like, even if it's a no, it is like the nicest, softest no, and maybe a referral, or maybe someone else in the company who would actually be relevant to. Like when I have gotten no's, they're usually the nicest no's. Like they're like, I loved your video, so innovative, like so creative. Like unfortunately, XYZ, like I can't meet with you, but like 5 out of 5 stars for effort. And then it's like, hey, quarter goes by, you've now had a nice interaction with this person. Is it the right time now?
Honestly, what you're telling me is a way better response than you get a lot of times with cold call, you know, and just a much warmer response. And you're not doing this through email ever, only through LinkedIn, or are you sending some in an email as well occasionally, or?
So the videos are going to be too big to just put in an email if you just like made them on your phone like I do. I will definitely though send an email. Yeah, let me be clear on the follow-up process, that in the subject line that says like Liz with the LinkedIn video or something, like video in your LinkedIn inbox. And then like the touch on email can just be like, hey, was feeling creative, like sent you a video on LinkedIn. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, here are the 3 things I hit on, right? And you can just rewatch your video when you're sending that follow-up email because it's already been sent, so permission to rewatch and be like, this is what I talked about, these 3 things. Would love to hear your feedback on my video and like explore these concepts further. So you can like continue to use email to get them to watch the video or to catch their attention, but from the actual video sharing perspective, like 95 plus, I am just like dropping it in their LinkedIn DM.
So almost like a bump email.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So I have a question. Is totally unrelated to any of that. I just noticed that, like, on your experience, you've been through several different countries. So what was that like? Can you go into that?
Sorry, what was the question? Several different companies?
Yeah, well, countries like India, China.
Oh, when I was younger, many moons ago, I took a gap year and I traveled with a nonprofit. So that encapsulated most of my traveling. I do have, for some reason, like an affinity for India. I think it's like the most fascinating place. I ended up going back like after my gap year, like a few years later, and spent like 10 weeks there. I'm just like very interested, and I think it's just the most like colorful, interesting place I've ever been. And I was like, I need more. In more recent years, though, I've become like extremely boring and think like driving from Boston to Maine is like a big deal. So
I barely leave my house as it is. I get it.
yeah.
All right, this is your last opportunity to ask questions, you guys. That you have her full attention. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Now's the time to ask. So, questions.
So here's a question for you. So like if so my company does not provide like the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right? So I'm only limited into like what I can send or who I can connect with, but they do pay for Vidyard. So would you say just go for it, like test it for 30 days and see via email like how it goes? I get a good response when I do it as like follow-up, right? Like after a demo and I'm continuing to try to push conversation along.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, like I could pony up the money because if I can make it back, right? Like in the LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But so I'm kind of hesitating between that or just trying to focus more prospecting, like right now I'm not doing a lot of video prospecting. So just trying to throw other things against the wall.
Totally. So I think even if you don't have premium or sales nav, if you connect with someone, like they accept your connection request, then you can make them a video and reach out. So candidly, up those connection requests. I think you can do 50 a day before LinkedIn thinks you're a bot.
Yeah,
So
I think it depends on how many connections you have, but I think you can do about 150 a week.
Okay.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too, is make sure that you go back into the ones that didn't respond in within a month and delete all of those. So LinkedIn realizes you're not just running a game and you're cleaning up your side of the screen and all of that. Yeah. So, yeah, and then they'll shut you off when they shut you off. That's LinkedIn. Yay.
You'll get it back though, even if you're shut off. It's not forever.
No, but they'll say for the day, like you're done, you can't do any more connection requests, which is fine to bump up against that. You're not hurting anything to do that. Yeah.
When it happened to me, I was in day 5 of the month. Don't know how that happened, but it did. Anyway,
Sounds like a busy month.
Yes.
You were focused from the get-go.
Yeah, always. No, I'm just really, really nosy, kind of curious. So that's pretty much it, you know.
Sounds like you're gonna make some good videos then, definitely.
Yeah, that's right.
It looks like Juan has raised his hand.
Yeah, I just had a quick question because you mentioned that you send hundreds of videos, right? And you're sending them through direct contact. I'm wondering if you keep track of the videos you send separately in a CRM so that you know when's the right time to follow up or when you haven't heard from someone, like, because otherwise you're sending a bunch of videos and you don't keep track of who you've sent them to. Is there anything that you do to keep tabs on the people you're sending them to?
That is such a good question.
Right? He's got good questions, doesn't he?
Yes, very much. So the short answer is like, it depends. So when I was a BDR, like the meat and potatoes of my one-on-one is what are you doing, right? Like where are your meetings? So when I was a BDR, I definitely had, like, when I worked with my AE, like an Excel sheet of like, these are the 20 people that you would be obsessed with meeting, like that one woman from CVS, and it was definitely like accounted for that sheet to like talk about. I also am like kind of like bad practice and still work out of Google Sheets and not Salesforce all the time. I'm like obviously not supposed to do that, but I like to work out of Google Sheets. The other thing, when I became an AE, honestly, I feel like my activity wasn't tracked so closely, and I just had more personal like notes on who I was reaching out to, and like wasn't really asked about it that much. It just became like another way to increase my pipeline, because I feel like when you're an AE, it's less about the amount of activity, but like if you have pipeline, if you're like getting new conversations going, like there's different metrics you're measured on. So in short, I have and I have not, but there's not really like an area in Salesforce where I've like consistently logged it, but you could always log it as a task. But I would also say, you follow me on TikTok, like I talk about this, I could work on my data hygiene. I would say it's one of my shortcomings as an AE.
Gotcha. But as long as there's a system to like, you know, follow up, whether that be on Sheets or in your CRM, like,
Yeah.
I guess you can make it work.
Yeah. I also feel like this is, again, not best practice, but since I'm sending them all through LinkedIn, I just like open my LinkedIn chat every day and I just like ping them all.
Got it. Thank you.
Of course.
So you guys got that right. When she was a BDR and she was responsible for filling her AE's calendar, she was keeping better track, because that's going to be one of your KPIs, and your manager's going to come to you and say, how many meetings have you got? How many meetings are you going to close for the month? So you really need to be on top of your business, even more so when you're in the BDR or SDR role, because they're going to come for you. They're going to ask you, and you need to have a solid answer.
I will definitely back that up. You need to be organized to have success in this role, but as a BDR, your organization is going to be like your greatest strength and your greatest detriment if you're not organized.
All right. Somebody had a question. I think they did see in chat, maybe. Let's see. If it's a high value target, it should be more about quality than quantity. Yeah, Emily makes a great point about that for sure.
Yep, totally agree there. Because you also don't want to like run through all your high value targets by like making crappy videos. Like spend the time on the right people. I feel like prospecting motion in general, you should have your tier 1 accounts, the accounts that are great fits, you really want to break into. You're going to devote the most energy to these accounts. You have your tier 2 accounts where you're like, okay, pretty good, like pretty darn good. And then you're going to like have some accounts that you're like, they don't look like our customers. I don't know, they're out of Singapore, I'm not reaching them. That's when you start to leverage like the automation, and maybe you get lucky. But your tier 1 and tier 2s is where you should be more like quality focused with your outreach.
And if you want to make a crazy video and try something crazy, your tier 3 would be the place to do that, not your tier 1 or tier 2. If that makes sense, right?
Or even if you're like nervous and just like want to get a few out, get the marbles out, send it to the guy in Singapore. Who cares?
Yeah, you got nothing.
They might respond too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Liz, oh my goodness. If you did not get a nugget, not to mention multiple nuggets out of this, you weren't listening. That's all I have to say. This was absolutely amazing, super helpful. Yeah, we are so grateful that you spent this hour with us, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being like a fun participatory audience. I was definitely worried like going into this that I was just gonna be like talking the whole time and it was gonna feel awkward, and it wasn't awkward at all. Well, at least for me. At least for me it wasn't. So thank you